Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone again to another episode of the Tesla Motors Club podcast. I'm Mark,
I'm Lewis.
And I'm Mike.
and we want to thank you guys again for joining on this beautiful day. Some of our topics today, we're going to talk about Elon's comments on no more work from home. Lewis has some things to say about that. We're going to have some. We're going to talk about the autopilot improvements, increasing the max speed. Also, the FSD Beta expansion is opening up to a wider audience. I think that's cool. And we'll also hit some viewer comments on some of our past pods. That and some more topics are coming up. So stay tuned. Episode 12 starts now. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. I am so honored to have people in TV land checking out these beautiful guys here, Lewis and Mike. Also, before we start, golf clap for Lewis. He's got his VIN.
Yay!
He's got his VIN for his Model S Plaid, and it's coming soon. Yep, he's already got it. He's got his charger set up. He just got some pucks delivered just literally minutes before
Got a
we went on
hard
air.
drive ready for my.
Oh my gosh,
all
this
the
guy.
things.
But the
So
question is, have you started like sweeping out the garage and blowing all the dust out?
yeah.
No, that'll be this week.
Is there a pad for the car to drive up on so it can have a place to, you know?
Not quite. No.
Not quite. So was it worth the wait for these Matrix headlights, Lewis? Was that really worth all this pain?
It was pretty painful, but I don't know. I'm also getting the tilt screen out of it, which was unintended. So
Oh,
I
really?
mean,
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
yeah, they added tilt automated tilt to the screen. Although I would debate it's not really tilt because it's left and right, not up and down. But whatever, we won't get into that. But yeah, so a couple
So
extras.
So when you get the car, are you gonna let the garage door down and make the Matrix headlights do some kind of Tesla little dance with them?
I'm sure
You
we'll
got-
do something.
Uh-huh.
We'll do some. We'll do some. Definitely do some videos. Lots of
Are
pictures.
are you a fart guy where you like do fart sounds in the car and that kind of thing? Is that
I probably
is that what you
won't.
do?
That's probably not me. But I mean, I'm sure I'll fart in the car, but I won't do that.
Okay, all right, okay.
Oh, boy.
Next.
Okay, so anyway, we have a wonderful show today. A lot of things to talk about. Elon's been on. He's on one. I've heard that's a phrase now. Elon's been on one the last few weeks. A big topic that a lot of people that I know who work from home, Lewis also works from home, is Elon's whole thing about people that work from home don't do anything. They're you either here or you quit. So I think I'll let Lewis, if he's comfortable with that, kicking it off and let us know what you think about Elon's comments about that. People working from
Sure.
home.
Yeah. I mean, so he sent an email to his e-staff. The way that I originally interpreted it was specifically it was targeting the e-staff, and then it seems to have expanded into being company wide. Like there was a lot of debate on what he meant by that at first, but yeah, basically his argument was they have a lot of workers that have to be in person, right? When you're building something, you can't do that remotely in a lot of cases. So he said everybody has to be in the office. But some of the implication of how he said it and what he said was essentially that he doesn't believe that people actually work when they're not in the office, and that they don't really accomplish any work remotely. Which I'm just gonna say is emphatically BS. That
I mean, what you do is not. I mean, you're not. What you do is not chop liver. I mean, you have a very serious job.
So I mean
I would think so. I mean,
So,
you're
I've
making
worked-
decisions.
I've worked professionally in this career for, I don't know, coming up on almost 20 years, and I'd say maybe like 7 or 8 of the years I've done remotely. And so I'm not new to remote work because of the pandemic, which many people have done. I've worked remotely in the past, and I've done it before pandemic and obviously during the pandemic. And I think that some people, I agree that some people cannot work remotely. Some people cannot do it. But there are ways and strategies and things to improve on that. I think that there are people that in an office don't accomplish anything and barely do any work. I've seen that many, many times. So I think the assumption that being in the office is what makes you work is nonsense. And I've also seen both in myself and in people that report to me and other stuff at various companies that sometimes working from home, you work significantly more and you produce a lot more because
Yep.
if you don't have those breaks, you don't realize like, oh man, I'm sitting at my desk and you look up and it's like, oh, it's 12 hours has gone by, I haven't eaten anything and I've been working this whole time or things like that. So I don't think I think the implication is nonsense that working from home does not, is not productive. I feel like part of it, there's certain big tech companies that have been doing this. It's not a Tesla thing. Google's, been saying stuff about it. Meta for Facebook, and a lot of these companies have started coming out saying like, oh, they want people back in the office. Some of them have backpedaled. They said everyone's got to come back, and then a bunch of people quit or threatened to quit, and they went, well, hold on, we'll come up with some hybrid approaches. And I think that's going to be the new normal. I think some level of hybrid work, being able to work remotely will be normal at a lot of these companies. But yeah, anyway, I feel like part of it was him just Elon says things without sometimes I'll say appears to say things without thinking too deeply into it. Some stuff, I mean, he's a brilliant guy. Some stuff he's 4D chess. He's way ahead and he knows exactly what he's saying. Sometimes I feel like he just kind of says something and it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said
Some
that.
raw
or like,
meat, yeah, just
you know what I mean? Exactly. So I don't know how much was in this. It maybe was 4D chess, and they were looking to like, there's some rumors. People say like, oh, he's just trying to get people to quit because they want to reduce staff and they don't want to pay severance. And lo and behold, after this thing came out, now they're talking about they're going to reduce their hourly or their salaried workers, and shrink headcount due to economic factors and other things. And so I don't know.
If anyone's out there watching us on YouTube, feel free to comment and let us know what you think about Elon's decision there. For me, I think that if I was working on the line, and which I think that's cool as hell, working on building a Tesla car. I think that's just cool shit. Not just any car, just a Tesla car. I think it's cool. But if I was working on the line, maybe it's Elon. I can maybe think he's like, well, these people come in here, they work 10, 12 hours a day or whatever, and they can't work from like I can't yet build a car remotely yet,
Right.
But so these people have to come in, and maybe morale may be increased, or it may be increased if I said, okay, the pandemic is kind of lessening its hold on us. Let's everyone bring back in, because maybe because Elon, from some of our past guests, Elon, he slept on the floor in his factory. What's the guy that the Tesla whisperer, the roaster guy? He said how Elon just had a desk over in the corner someplace or whatever, just nondescript. So maybe that's just his culture. He's old school, and maybe he feels that if my people are here and we can see each other, and we can collaborate, because we have a connection together. And then if they're coming in and the workers are there, maybe Elon thinks that may build morale and make people be more invigorated to come work on their cars. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? That's just my 2 cents.
His name's Carl, by the way, the Whisperer guy.
Yeah,
Carl
Whisperer.
Medlock.
So past experience with military and business says when someone of a leadership position comes to visit, people tend to get really nervous, unless it's a common occurrence. Now, when I worked at Hughes, Hughes himself used to come by and visit, but he had made a habit of that. That was something he did a lot, and people took it. Oh, like he's back. He's come to visit. Later on in my career at Hughes, when we were owned by GM, we had people from GM management come to visit, which they never did. And when they did come to visit, it was usually the harbinger of, oh, by the way, here's your last check. I can cut a lot of different ways when you have someone dropping by the workspace. I think this was one of Elon's comments that was just kind of unfiltered. It just kind of off the top of his head and says, yeah, we're going to be doing this. And oh, by the way, out it comes.
It was written in an email. It wasn't a tweet. So,
yeah, well, I banged out
staff.
emails on the fly before I kind of go back and look at it and said, I probably shouldn't have said that. So,
sure.
Especially, I find when I'm typing on my emails, I tend not to filter as much as I probably should. So I could see him kind of shooting from the hip, as it were. but
Sure.
I think it's probably a calculated move. It's probably, like you said, staff reduction. It's a good way to push out people that maybe kind of in the back of their head they're done, they want to leave, and here's that little push to get them out the door. And
But
the more they
this
get
is
voluntarily, the easier it is.
but it's different, right? I mean, when companies want to get rid of people, I mean, sure they can just lay them off, but if he doesn't want them to pay severance, like this is kind of a brash way to do it, right? Like, hey, get the fuck out of, I mean, it's
And knowing Elon for the last 10 years, you expect something different?
no, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that what like like no one does that. Like, hey, let me just whatever I email you,
I mean,
it's gonna go viral. So hey, by the way, go fuck yourselves and get out.
so let me be clear about something, Mark. I don't think it's I think that's very much Elon's style. But what I will call him on is it's very unprofessional.
That's my point.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I would argue. I agree. I think that's definitely part of the factor, right? Like I'm sure if he's doing the 40 chest, that's a factor. I agree with everything Mark said though about like if you work in manufacturing, right? Like if you're somebody that works in manufacturing, you're a supervisor, you're director, you're VP, like everyone under you has to be in person. You should probably have to be in person, right? Like I'm of the opinion that your leaders should at least to some degree suffer with you in the sense of having the same. Now, does that mean that goes completely everywhere? No. Does that mean that they're really suffering? No. The poor guy on the line is doing physical labor. His supervisor maybe not, or VP certainly
Yeah.
isn't. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's not fully transparent, but I think there's some benefit to having that morale boost of we're all in this together kind of thing. It is kind of different though when you have completely different departments, right? Like you don't even work in the same facility. So if somebody works entirely through software or in marketing or something, and they have no connection to the manufacturing at all, I would argue, does it really matter that they're going to an office or not? So I don't know. It's
well,
I mean,
debatable.
one of our usual members, Amin. I mean, look at Amin's his picture. I mean, he's on the couch. He's like chilling, like what I'm saying. Okay,
no,
what's up, Amin? I got you, bro.
I'm gonna call him out on that comment.
Okay, but let me say it. So he says, so for people who can't see this, people have relaxed quite a bit working from home from a productivity perspective. Elon got it right when he said no company with work from home employees has made a great product. I mean, you about to get your ass handed to you, brother, because Mike is about to get in it.
You cannot you cannot make a general statement like that and be correct. And
Right.
I work for a company. We work remote, and we make a great product. We're one of the top rated companies in our industry, and we're all remote. My entire team's remote, except for one person, and they're going to be remote in about 4 months. So I don't agree with your statement,
Yeah.
and I don't agree with Elon's statement.
I agree with Mike. My company literally works in work analytics and productivity. So we actually develop products to measure productivity for office workers, and we have data on in office, out of office, hybrid, and all that stuff. And our data does not indicate that work productivity goes down if you're working from home. Like from everything we've seen, again, it depends on the individual. To the individual level, yes, some people will work worse, or they're not as familiar with it. They haven't, you have to change your behavior, your patterns, how you work. It's not the same thing. So a lot of people probably suffer and fail at it, as I did the first time I ever worked from home for the first year. I would say easily 6 months of that was a disaster. My company, it's been a long time, so hopefully they're not listening. But even if they are, I feel bad. I was not earning my paycheck for a lot that first 6 months, for sure. When I was young and first doing it, but I track all my time and things like that, and I work a lot of hours now that I'm home, and productivity. I definitely produce a lot, but again, not just me personally. That's anecdotal data that we have across hundreds of thousands of people, across tens of thousands of companies, because that's what our product does, seems to track that it's not true that people aren't productive at home.
And we have to distinguish. It's one thing to do intellectual work remote.
Yes.
Like, I work in the cloud. that's my business. I play in the cloud. There's nothing physical about the cloud that I have anything to do with. If I was trying to put a wheel on a car, different story completely.
Agreed.
It's kind of hard to do that remote. You got to pick it up, put it on, all that good stuff. So I would say, instead of a general statement, I would maybe narrow it down to, in the automotive industry, you can't work remote effectively. Maybe. Don't know. Haven't done that industry.
Mike, what would you, if you were Elon and you wanted to just like let people go, how would you have handled it differently? Let me put you on the fire. Put your feet to the fire here. How would you have handled this thing differently with how he did it? What would you do differently?
Typically, in my world, because I have let people go, it's done the same way that I'd want to be treated. In other words, you're professional about it. You do, maybe not a one-on-one, but definitely small groups, and you go over the reasons why. You just don't blast off an email and say, "Oh, by the way, your shit can."
Yeah.
I've been on that too, and that's not good by any stretch. And the reason that's not good is it really burns the bridge. I've actually gone back to companies that I've been let go from years later because they treated me well on the way out the door. No bridges were burned on either side, and things changed, circumstances changed, people changed. Went back to a company, worked there another 3 years. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to do as a leader. Are you just trying to be a jerk and nuke that connection, or do you want to, kind of keep the connection in place with the understanding it's a very small world out there, and the people that you're letting go, you very well could end up working for in the future or having working for you again. Your call. You're the leader.
Yeah.
That's what you're being the big bucks for.
Yeah, and whatever Elon says, it kind of gets out there really quickly, So
which was interesting because it was an email to the e-staff, so literally it leaked from e-staff, or maybe an admin, like somebody that was just involved, But,
yeah.
Or maybe it was intentional.
Well, I'll say that
He doesn't have a press department, so what's he going to do?
Well, you know what? I'll say that maybe working from home did do some good because we got our autopilot upped from 80 to 85 miles per hour. So golf clap. I mean,
all right. You go, boy.
I'm very happy with that.
Brother, look, I'm going to tell you, man, I'm always, man, I use autopilot every chance I get. And so, but the problem is that, here in LA, 80 miles per hour is that's like the bottom rung.
Yeah,
People,
especially on the toll roads.
Yeah. So, I missed 90. My old car was radar, so I could do 90. Oh man, that was fantastic. But 80 was like ridiculous. But 85 is a little bit better. I can at least stay in the HOV lane and not piss people off behind me. So I'm pretty happy about that.
I got to ask you a question, Mark.
I was going to say, we should just say, though, to any listeners out there, that Mark is not admitting guilt or fault in violating any laws.
Oh!
He's just saying,
that's right.
In an area where it was legal to do in a
closed environment. I forgot to preface that. Yes, in a closed environment.
Sorry, go for it, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to ask Mark's level of stress when he's in the HOV lane, bypassing everybody that's stopping. That always makes me a little nervous.
You don't want to be in the car with me, Mike. You just don't want to be in the car with me, bro. Yeah. So, that is interesting. That is interesting. So, a lot of times when I'm heading home, I'm typically in traffic for the most part, and people. Sorry. Ooh. Sorry. Amazon is here. That was Amazon calling me at the door. So my fault. So anyway, I look at that. I do look at that like, okay, what are you going to do? Especially in the morning in rush hour.
Yeah.
But
zip in.
Yeah, but I go a good speed when I'm doing that. Now I'll do this on autopilot. In the mornings, I can't go really fast anyway because there's cars in front of me that are like, doing that. But the car is good at stopping. So when someone gets scared when they see like like we'll be moving fine in HOV, but the lanes over here all stop. So people start to slow down, and some people get scared and they like, oh, there's cars over there.
I've seen
So
that.
and my set distance is to 2. So I'm like 2 car lengths behind. So and I'm just chilling.
Well, you're trusting.
A few software updates back, and I'm so grateful to the Tesla gods who did this, is that they use more regen than just braking. They'll let the regen do its thing first, and then they'll start to brake if it doesn't do it. Because I'm very OCD, and I don't like brake dust on my wheels. So if it's using a lot of brake, then that's more cleaning. So I was very grateful that they did that. But in these instances, the slowdown is much more graceful now, and so it's not just like a stop. It just doesn't
not really
stop.
abrupt and kind of pitches you
kind
forward.
It kind of slows you down, and so I think that's really great because the person behind me, it gives them some reaction time, because typically people behind me are on my ass, and so I'm usually at least 2 car lengths ahead of someone because of the FSD, because of Autopilot, excuse me, and so that it slows it down gracefully. That's really great. Now, something it still does sometimes is like when you get up, when you move, it'll go. So you're like, whoa. So it kind of wants to go sometimes, But other than that, I'm comfortable. I know the morning traffic, so it kind of works out.
See,
for me.
I had the other experience. I would slow down, and it would be fine, and then traffic would speed up, and the car would just take its sweet ass time getting going again.
Yeah, you got to kind of give
come on, and I just turn off. I'm done.
Yeah. What I learned to do is I just feather the pedal, the go pedal, and then it'll finally kind of catch up.
But if I'm having to do that, then I might as well drive it.
Yeah. I understand that. Look, last night.
So, go.
No. Look, go ahead, Lewis. Go ahead.
I was just say, you amused me with your comment about brake dust. I just have to say, because when I was in my early 20s and I bought my first sports nice car, I took my mom to the dealership because she's great at negotiating, and I was a young kid, didn't know what I was doing, and she actually made them clean the brake dust out of the tire, and the guys at the dealership were like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you realize it's just going to reappear in 2 seconds when you start driving it." Anyway, it was hilarious. So I was amused with your
pet peeve of mine.
I was amused with your brake dust comment, but I think that I don't know. I'd still argue in Mark's case though, Mike, that giving it the little pedal still saves you from having to do all the other stuff, right? So I think it's a fair comment.
Maybe I'm just looking for an excuse.
Yeah, because Mike's on the. We know how you are about FSD anyway. Now Amin says his guess for the 85 miles per hour increase is because that the highway in Giga Texas speed limit is 85 miles per hour. Amin, look, man, we used to could do 90. No, we used to could do 90 on radar. Okay, that was great, and then once Elon wanted to go division only, that went away with that. So I think this is Elon's reaction to people saying, "Bro, can we at least get 5 miles per hour, something?" You know what I'm saying? So this is Elon throwing us a little biscuit and just.
I think it'll increase over time too. I think it's definitely they're worried about the technology and where it's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the roads. So I drive in Austin, and basically our toll road, we have roads here with the speed limit where you have the traffic slowing down, and you have the express lanes that you pay for that lets you go. And I see people exactly what Mike was talking about, where they get nervous and they slow down because of their lanes, even though we have actual dividers between the lanes. Now, they're not steel dividers. They're dividers you can drive through, but still, people there were reflector poles that are there. And people slow down in the express lane that you're paying to go fast because they see traffic backed up, and it's I guess somebody could technically pull in, but it drives me nuts. One single lane
drive over those dividers.
Sure, and for sure, but you're literally in a lane that you're paying for to go fast.
Oh yeah,
and it is a single lane, which Texas, I hate you. Why did you do that? There's one slow person backs up that lane, and there's no exits. There's no way to go around them. You're just stuck in this lane going slow that you paid for. It's awful. But when you get those lanes to yourself, it's magic. It's wonderful. I can't wait to Can't wait to feel the speed.
Here it comes.
Is there a street near you, Lewis, that you're gonna like get your car in and like test it?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I live on the southwest side of Austin, and I'm probably going to be going out west where there's high speed limits, very like no people, and lots of open road. So, and I plan on doing some track stuff as well, where I'll really take. I'm not going to do 150 plus on the normal road as I may have done in my youth. I have done 165 and a 55 many years ago, and it was really dumb, but but I will not be doing that again.
I had the piece of paper to prove that little story too.
I would have gone to jail with that one. Thankfully, I did not get caught on that. But
Amin brings up a good little topic too. He says if he presses the go pedal, the AP would get disabled. I had to exit the highway, stop, and then go. I don't know how to drive long trips with the AP. Hey man, me you both. And that's something that happened to me one time. I was on autopilot in my old car, so it was set to 90, and I was in the HOV lane, and it was an autopilot, and I got complacent because I forgot it was in AP. So you know how you can the broken lines come up and you can get out and change. Sure. So someone was driving slower than me, and so I got around, and then it was so cheese. This big red steer was like this steer will just comes up on the screen like it says, "Mark, you just effed up and you no longer have access." I was like, "What just happened?" And so what happened was I pressed the pedal and it went beyond the limit. So you're in autopilot jail, which is what everyone says. It's just so cheesy. The steering wheel pops up and it dissolves and these lights go off. I'm like, bro,
is that distracted driving?
It freaked me out because
they're worried about my phone and here the screen's going into this light show.
Bro, man, that just freaked me out. I had no idea what was going on. Like, what did I do? And I was like, I'm in what? I tried to do the things like, nope. Like, what? I was like, so I had to drive the rest of the way to Long Beach. I was like, man, come on. But I didn't realize you could stop and start it back up. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I thought I was like out of it forever. That's what I thought.
So is that because you were trying to accelerate beyond?
Exactly. You went past the 90 in autopilot, so you have to disengage it, and then you can do your whatever, and then re-engage it. But I didn't know that, and it just threw me off. John Schultz, he says, so yeah, 12.3.20 release went out to a lot of people. I had opted into the beta months ago and had a 100 score, then opted out because no new beta tests would be taken. John, you and I. The same thing, but I do want to know, John, where are you located? Because if I lived like in a rural area, then it would be no problem for me. It'd be no problem for me to be in beta, but you can't. I don't care what any. After the update last night, I had a button to enable FSD Beta. Okay,
good.
So
solely for him.
Yeah, so I don't care what anybody says about this is how you do it. It's impossible to maintain a 100, a 99, or a 98 in ATL, 100, 99, 98 in LA. It's impossible. You have to. It's just impossible.
But you don't have to. Here's the thing. You just have to get it to get into the beta. I've seen many things. Once you're in the beta, they do not kick you out for dropping your score down.
Right, and that's what I did before because you could game it back then. Because like every Friday they were doing it, but now it might be weeks and months before they do it. I can't continue, and that's my point. I can't continue to drive that way for weeks. I can do it for a couple of days, but to just drive it and be like, because you'll go to the autopilot sub forum on TMC, and people all the day, hey guys, I've had 100 score for having 100 score. I've had 100 score for 5 months now, and I'm still waiting for the beta. I'm like, bruh. I'm like, you obviously are in a place where you can do that. You can't maintain 100 in LA, period, and wait. Like all these people who ask those questions, they're from.
Gauntlet down.
I've had this 99 for like 5 months now, and is anyone, bro? No, I think these folks are trying to low key humble brag that they can do a 100 score. You know what I'm saying? I just think that. Sure. Now, John mentioned he was from ATL. I live in Atlanta before I moved out to LA, and I think traffic down there has gotten a little crazier. But yeah, 100 drivers is not fun. I know, especially if you have a performance model. He said he had it for a 100 for a week, then he opted out. Bro, look. One day, I was. This was in my new car. I said, okay, I'm gonna try and drive, and see what I can do it. I got on the interstate on the 101, and then a car. This is traffic.
That's a death wish, dude.
I was right by Universal Studios, and I got right on there, and I'm in the third lane, so I'm way over, like out. I'm chilling. It's my OCD because my foot is like, bro, why can't I press that? Like, I'm trying to be this, and I was minding my own business, and then this joker just breaks my little cushion, and then I have to ease off the pedal because I want to gracefully stop, and then you're done. It's that hard braking. You're done. So I was like, F it. I stopped. I was in traffic. I stopped the car. I put in park. I disabled FSD as if I can't do it. Right in the middle of traffic. I just can't do it. You can't do it. Because you have to drive for other people, and other people don't know. And then they look at you like, why are you driving the speed limit on this interstate?
Well, you're lucky in one sense, Mark, and that is, it's just you. In my case, my wife drives the Model 3 a lot too, and so you got her score and my score combined, and it's a lost cause.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, what are you saying, Mike? Are you saying her?
Yeah, I mean, every time she drives it, you have a 100, and every time you drive it, you take it.
She comes home talking about the Porsche she just waxed going up the hill.
That's what I'm talking about. And you're like, okay, well, that went that. I know. But but anyway, FSD Beta is what it is. It's coming, and they've also announced that the beta expansion is also opening up to more people with less than 100 score, and also there's a lot of people.
It's not 88.
I know. You know what? I could probably make an 88. I could probably maintain an 88 here. I probably could.
I can tell. I can maintain an 88. So if I can, I know you can.
Yeah, I can.
All I know right now is I've seen people posting because they just started expanding it that down to like 97, maybe 96. For sure, like people have said they've gotten it so far.
Yeah.
If that goes lower, I don't know. But yeah, they're Elon tweeted, right? He said they're trying to hit 100,000 cars with it. So hopefully they don't hit that before a week from now.
Figure out one thing. Mark, I did figure out one thing about the score. The excessive braking that I keep getting dinged for is because I do single pedal driving, and I've got the regen in the highest mode.
Yep.
And I've got it to an art. I mean, I can literally drive, come off the freeway at 80.
Yes.
Hit the exit and be at the stoplight without touching the brake.
Exactly.
But that dings me for excessive braking.
Right. Now, on the newer cars like the 2022, the regen button is gone. It's just regen. He's either on or off.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. On the old model and even older firmwares, they had 3 different levels of regen, I believe. And then eventually just went to 2. But now new cars it's nothing. It's just like either you want it on or off. And the sucky thing about it is that over some updates, the regen is weaker now. It's a lot weaker, which is annoying to me. Because now you gotta you have to kind of brake earlier to do one pedal drive, and you got to brake earlier and then feather it, whereas before you could just how to go and how to do it, but now it's really weak. That's
exactly what I do too. Yeah,
it's really weak. Amin was asking about, he says, I'm curious about my score just for the Tesla insurance. I'm very happy, and we'll talk about the FSD expansion, but since he mentioned this, I'm very happy with the way that in California, we don't have to have that score factored into our insurance. Because bro, the main reason I got the 3 is to be able to go from 0 to 60. That's my thing. The way it is, and chicks like that. So I mean, they like. Doug said the old radio test, on the old Model S, whatever. So I was like, I said, hey, reach over there and adjust your AC. Okay. And I punch it, and they're like, bro. Girls like that stuff, man. They like that stuff, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So the expanding thing is a good thing. So Mike, do you think you're going to think about getting an FSD beta?
Hell
Because
no.
now that no,
Hell no.
is it because you're saying reasons before, or you just or what, or have you got more reasons why?
Well, okay, so maybe it's just no at this point. My last experience with FSD that I rented, you know, was so bad. I'm really not interested in it. I hear all this discussion from you folks that have it and you play in the beta and you tell me how great it is, and I couldn't get it to change lanes to get on. I needed to go from one freeway to another. Pretty simple. And it couldn't change lanes because the traffic was heavy and it couldn't find an opening that it felt comfortable with.
Yeah, but to be fair, though,
I did just fine.
That's the old stack. You're talking about software.
You keep
that's
telling me
literally-
that. You keep telling me
It's
that. but
literally
that's what
like
it's
3
based
years
on.
old. Like
Yeah,
they
well,
literally haven't. No, it's not. They haven't updated that software in years. The FSD Beta is completely different software, which is much newer. The stuff that you experienced was
in
the
order
old
for me
one.
in order for me to find this wonderful Xanadu of software, I need to pay $200 a month and somehow qualify for the beta. No, not
Yes,
happening.
unfortunately. Yes, that's true.
Not happening.
So once Lewis gets his car and gets in it, he can't try to change your mind about it, Mike, at all.
I want to see if he gets his 95 he needs in his plaid.
Ugh.
Oh man.
Only if I'm
man.
really trying. Maybe.
So Mike, here's a guy on the TMC forums. He mentions in a post, he says, I've had FSD 10.12 for several days now and see little improvement. It has already had at least
Ouch.
2 phantom braking episodes on city streets, which I did not have before, and it has made a left turn at an intersection and driven over a raised median in the middle of the left turn.
I thought
It
he
is
was supposed to
still
have his hands on the wheel.
it is still herky jerky and drives like a drunk driver. I do not think this is emphasized. I do not think it will be long before we are pulled by the police for a suspect drunk driving. All right, that's a little dramatic.
Okay, well, but dramatic or not, so the 2 instances that happened to me that made me turn off FSD, I swear to God, these instances happened within 15 minutes of each other. I pulled over to the side of the road, turned it off, and never went back to it. One, it almost hit a bicyclist because it didn't see the bicyclist on the side of the road pedaling along. 2, it tried to use a center merge as a excuse me, as a lane. It literally, I was on the inside lane. It's a 2-lane highway, and so I'm on my lane, and I came up to a small lake, and they have this acceleration lane they built into the middle. And as soon as the car saw that acceleration lane, it tried to merge left and use it. It didn't stay where it had been for the last 3 miles. And at that point, I just had enough of it. I said, I'm done. You're a fucking hazard.
Mm.
And I just pulled off, turned it off, and that was the end of it.
No,
and it's going to take a lot of work to convince me to go back.
Okay, so tell me what kind. Okay, well then let's talk about that. What kind of work would you need to see? And and I remind you, you can't see this unless you use it, Mike. So
which I have to pay for.
Right. So so you can't just
and I have to qualify because it's beta, and I can't qualify.
Okay, fair points. But what would you like to see or hear from other beta people that will make you think, maybe I'll give it a try? What things would you like to see? Like the number one thing.
Okay, I don't mind errors if they're repeatable and people know what they are. In other words, okay, it doesn't handle high contrast well. So if you have an issue, if you got something on your drive that's high contrast, it's going to try to break. Okay, I can plan for that as I'm driving. But phantom braking by definition is just that. It just happens for no rhyme or reason. That still seems to be a real issue. In fact, it's getting the attention of the government, as we can follow in the news. There are some people, if I hear from them, and I trust their opinions, if I hear from them, it's become reliable in their view, I might look at it. But,
I mean, define reliable. I don't think it's going to be reliable for
reliable
some years
means I
yet.
can trust it not to kill me on the freeway. And it can get me
so
on the
you're
freeway
probably
or
talking
off
years.
the freeway.
You're probably talking years on
then,
that
then
one.
it's a waste. I mean, if I lived in a small town and I'm only using it in town, that may be one thing. But I live, like Mark does, on the freeway. If this can't drive me onto the freeway and get me off the freeway reliably, hell, I tried to use it to get to a supercharging site and it failed miserably on that. I mean, so.
Well, there's a meme. Maybe Marco Lewis will let you borrow their car to test the new FAT.
That's right.
New FSD.
I'll actually fly to Texas to test it in the Plaid.
Oh, man.
You are both more than welcome to.
He may have to buy me a beer.
Yeah, exactly. We got you, mean. So there's a person on a TMC forum. His name is Twiglet. I love his icon. It looks like I've seen this icon before. Yeah, Twiglet. He's a single pedal driver was what his thing on TMC.
Good
but
for him.
he's in Austin too, Lewis. He has some comments to say about FSD. He says people handle FSD Beta in different ways. So all I can do is share his own perspective. I learned that I felt best when I was quite restrictive in my attitude to what I would let it get away with. Listen, Mike. So when we are driving together, FSD Beta and him, I'm always applying just enough torque on the steering wheel to feel what the car is doing. Each time it tried to do something stupid, just like the warning message says, and it tried to jerk the wheel off on some random direction, it never gets far. Every time it does that, I'll tap the camera icon to submit a clip to Tesla. For the more obscure ones, I'll send an email. After that, it's down to your personal trust level. This is for you, Mike. But it's definitely still a real beta. But it's definitely still a real beta. But is now at the point where it's doing some things really well, but it's staggeringly bad elsewhere. It does seem that the good and bad is regional, though, and that's my point. The good and bad is regional because
I can believe that.
There's some streets out there that are. They probably got all types of little lines in it, and if the cameras can do what they can do. But
so riddle me this, Mark. Do you think it's that? I think it might be more in the sense like here in Irvine, there's like 20 Teslas every square mile. I mean, it's a heavy population.
Yeah.
Whereas downtown LA may be 1 Tesla per square mile. So you've only got 1 Tesla per square mile and they're not in the beta, then you have no mapping going on. Or very little mapping.
Fair point. Fair point.
I don't think that that's a factor just based on what they've been claiming, though. I mean, I would agree with you.
What do they claim?
That
what do they claim?
They actually claim that soon it's not going to be using any mapping. Most of the new FSD Beta stuff does not use map data at all. It is purely using sensory input and its own interpretation. So I do feel like a lot of it has to do with, models are built on probabilities. Not to get too technical here, right? And
get technical.
I really think I don't want to put everyone to sleep, but I feel like when you're looking at the environments, it is regional. But it's not. It's regional in the sense of the streets and the environments in which you're in. If you fall into the probabilities that it handles really well, you're gonna be like, "This is amazing. I have no phantom braking. It always drives really well. People are crazy." But if you're in any other environment where it you start getting either what the model performs poorly at or with edge cases, that you're gonna see problems. And the problem is if you live, depending on where you live or where you drive frequently, to you it's going to be awful because it's going to suck all the time. It's not like it sucks once in a while for the same scenarios will fail over and over and over again. It is deterministic.
Yeah.
So you'll either have no problems or a lot of problems or somewhere in the middle, and your experience won't change unless you drastically change where you're using the car. And so again, you need to get comfortable with it. I think his post is fantastic. Leave your hands on it. Feel what the car is doing. Those types of things are probably what Tesla wants you to do, I would hope. It's certainly safest to do. You shouldn't be going to sleep. You shouldn't be looking at your phone. You shouldn't be hands-free the whole time. I mean, unless you're like Mark and you like to live dangerously. I mean, this is a guy that said he was doing 90, whatever. I'm just
in a controlled environment.
In a controlled environment. I'm just teasing.
Professional driver, controlled environment.
I know. So if John and Amin, if you guys are still around, if any of you guys do have Autopilot, let us know if you've experienced any phantom braking, or anyone else who may be watching YouTube. If you want to comment if you've experienced phantom braking, I have not. I've had two Teslas, a 2020 Model 3 Performance and a now a 2022. I've not had any phantom braking. I
Oh, I
use
have.
Autopilot a lot, but I also go. I usually do the same streets. I mean, I hit the same streets every day, and then on those times when I'm going off the beaten path and going somewhere else, most of the time I'm not using Autopilot because I'm driving spiritedly. So Autopilot doesn't drive spiritedly when I'm trying to do things. So I've not experienced it as much as some people do. But also, Twiglet mentioned it was kind of a regional thing, and on top of that, I also think that maybe if your windshield is dirty, if your cameras are dirty, that can maybe also affect what it sees, and I think that can maybe increase or have issues with the Autopilot going bananas.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
do keep the windshield clean because I know the camera needs to see. And in fact, that's actually in the owner's manual. They suggest, kind of treating the car like an airplane where you do a walk around and kind of hit the cameras, before you go off,
Yeah, yeah,
which makes sense.
that's what I do all the time. See, John says Harley ever phantom once months ago on highway autopilot. John, do you remember if you feel like responding? Do you remember like what the conditions were? What was going on with that? Was it like a cloudy day? Was it rainy? Were you in traffic? What was the details around that?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. I think regional does play a part in it because some people I've seen
Well,
on the forums, they'll show like a screenshot of a map of where they're oh, I had an accident here today and this is what it did.
so Mark, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Since you're a user and consumer,
Yeah.
how does Autopilot / FSD handle things like potholes in the road? I mean, the last thing you want to do is take your Model 3 or your Model
Yes.
S and run through a big pothole
Yeah.
and take out a wheel.
I haven't been around any potholes. Now, I have had the last version that I did in when I had my old car in beta. I was in a neighborhood and it had those little humps that you have to like
Speed
slow
bumps?
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it saw that and it slowed down and it crept over it. So, but I didn't experience any potholes. But John says it drives through
It
them.
drives through them.
So
Great.
yeah, see, with 20-inch wheels on a
Yeah, that
Model
could get
3,
expensive.
yeah. So I haven't seen. There are potholes around here in LA, but I haven't seen a lot recently. And certainly since I've had my car, I haven't seen any potholes. Doesn't mean they're not around. I just haven't seen any. But I do know that it can see those types of things, and it because I'm more concerned about those things going over the hump, and with the Model 3 being lowered. And by the way, people say that, well, I'm about to rant, y'all, my bad, but people said, oh, Tesla doesn't lower the car anymore because it's not in the studio. I'm like, so I went on the site because I had the old car. I know I'm off the subject. I'm sorry, but this just reminded me. So I had my old car, and it was when I had my 2020 on the thing. It says lower suspension. So, and I had the Michelin tires, and Doug says, okay, so there's a
drives
couple
right
guys that
through 'em.
mentioned that it
Yeah.
drives right through them. So there's your answer. So
Not good.
I still had my old car. So these new cats were getting the new 2021, 2022s, and they're saying, well, the car isn't lowered anymore because it's not on the studio. So I went and measured. It's unscientific, but I got a measuring tape from the ground to the fender, and I took a photographed it. Then I went to my new car when I got to 2022 and did it, and the gap was bigger. But the reason it was bigger is because they had those cheap Pirelli P0s on there, and those wheel and the tire was rolled around to the rim. It was like stretched into the rim, so that
Yeah.
stretch allowed for that gap. So when I measured it, I said, okay, look. So I measured it. It was higher. the next day after I got my car, the next day I went to get the Michelins, because those tires are the cat's pajamas. Trust me. So I got those and I measured again, and it was the same height as on my old car, and I posted that, and people just still think that, well, it's not lower. Well, my research is unscientific, but when you changed from the Pirelli to the Michelin, like what I had on the old car, their height was still the same. So I know I went off on a tangent on that, but I just wanted to say that because people will come and say it's not lowered. It's the same. It's lowered. It's the same. It's lowered. So trust me. Go to the site, look at it. I posted pictures. It's there. So my fault. I had to get that off my chest.
You feel better now?
A little bit. So, Mike, your question was answered. So, Doug and John both said that it goes through potholes. So, do you guys, John and Doug, if you guys still around, do you have the 20s, the low profile, or do you have not low profile?
I run 19s on mine. I got the 19s.
Yeah,
and I'm as much as I like the 20s because how they look, there's no way I'm going to run them on that car.
Bro, the 20s are they kick ass. Look. I've never had any. Again, I didn't run over potholes, but I never had any issues with yeah. In Atlanta, John says we have mostly good asphalt here. I watch for potholes and I'll navigate. Yeah, that's because all the film production is in Atlanta, and so Atlanta can charge, can do these things.
A lot of money.
Yeah. When I left, I was leaving Atlanta to come out here to work, and all the work was going to Atlanta. So. Anyway, but yeah, but that helps. A question about the government and the phantom braking. Do you guys think that? Do you think it's a problem? Do you think the phantom braking is a problem that the government has to say something about it?
Well, Chrysler does it, but I don't see Chrysler being taken to task by the government.
Right. I mean, I think. Go ahead, Lewis.
And I said, I was just gonna say, it's an issue when any car that's driver assist has this issue, right? Like my wife has a Jeep, and that does it. There's an overpass and a set spot in Austin where we drive, and every time we drive it, bam, phantom brakes slams on the brakes unexpectedly. So I mean, it happens in all cars. Now, the question is, I guess what they're trying to figure out is it like more prevalent in Tesla than what's considered acceptable?
Right.
Or is it, extremely hazardous? I think Tesla brings this onto themselves. So do I think that they're being unfair and like going after Tesla? Yes. But part of that is because of the publicity that Elon generates for Tesla in the FSD and you'll be able to go to sleep and it'll just drive it, all those types of things kind of it kind of opens the door to get attacked by these types of things more than it should. So do I think they're going to find anything or like change it? No, they'll find that phantom braking happens and then there's going to be no outcome from it of any effective change. Well, because it's not like they does it on purpose, right? It's
let me spin it a little bit for you, Lewis. So you're right, but let me put a little finer point on it. There's a section of road where my Model 3 would phantom brake often. Not in the same place, not every time, but often. And it was under construction. Okay. Our Chrysler van never phantom braked in that spot. The Tesla always did up till recently. However, the van does phantom brake in traffic, like the normal city traffic. It gets confused, whereas the Tesla is actually pretty good in town, and I've yet to have it phantom brake in town. So I'm wondering it's more about the information that the cars are receiving and how they handle the information. Is Tesla more conservative? Is it more aggressive? What's going on in the back side of it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's obviously it's hard to know because there's just so many variables and things that go into it. But yeah, they're not all going to work the same way. They certainly have different software, different hardware. Most of the traditional manufacturers are using radar for their phantom braking type stuff. Tesla's obviously the newer ones are not, the older ones did.
I think the Chrysler that we have is using radar. I think I could be wrong on that.
John, John has my thoughts too. The NHTSA is pretty focused on Tesla more so than anyone else.
For sure.
That's my whole point.
I think it's because of the claims that Tesla makes.
I think part of it is Elon asks for that attention, and part of it is due to politics and other things, right? There's definitely definitely personal vendettas.
Elon's the richest man in America. He can say and do what he wants. He's trying to buy Twitter. These folks are like, who is this guy walking up in here thinking he can do all this stuff? And so he makes these promises. Sure, some of them are over the top, but hey, these cars are selling out like hotcakes. Look, it took Lewis, how many months it take Lewis to get his Model S, you know? Yeah. And so those things, right. You know, and people are buying these cars and buying these cars and buying these cars. So the government can suck it, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, it would be interesting because in let's see, what is it? It's June now. So July, August, September, November. Come November, December, I have to make a decision. It'll either be a Lyric or it'll be a Model Y.
Oh, a Y for sure. I've made a decision for you.
You say
Mark
that.
has voted.
Decision for you.
Mark has voted.
You say that.
Your wife and your daughter, because she's going to want to take her friends in the Y and go down to the beach in it.
My daughter's got the BMW.
Right, but it's not as big as the Model Y is bigger.
Actually, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Then a 3? Well, I don't know. I've never been a 3.
So the Lyric is
Oh, I meant the i3. I didn't mean the Lyric. I meant the i3.
No, I'm talking about the Lyric.
Okay,
Cadillac.
that's a whole different. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a nice car. I got to give it to you.
Okay, so we will have to make that decision, and it's my wife's decision. It's her car, but I may be able to play with GM's version of auto driving and all this good stuff and see what they're doing. But you know, I still think Tesla might be on ahead of the game in that sense, from a tech point of view.
Okay, so all right, Amin says, your honest opinion, do you think GM self-driving technology is ahead? I'm asking because I read it last week.
I can't say.
Hell no. I just said it.
I'm trying to be more cautious.
I know. No. I mean,
I'll say
in a closed road, in a closed setting, it could be. You know, like
Mercedes is ahead.
Like Waymo and all that kind of stuff. Oh, Waymo's probably fantastic, but it's geofenced.
Waymo's fantastic within region.
Right. It's right. Yeah.
That's very regional.
Yeah, exactly. So of course it's its own little sandbox. Of course it's going to be great. Yep. I don't know. I think I agree that Tesla needs a little more cameras on their cars. Maybe some future model of cars will have another camera too. I don't know. But anyway, we can talk about this. Let's hit up some questions from our because we did talk about this at the top. So we have to give the people what they want, and the people want to know comments. So we had some comments from the last one with JT, the former Tesla guy. JT was cool. He was you could tell he was really
good.
He was really good at what he did, and he was very very personable. But there's a guy, Abbasai. Abbasai. He's a Tesla shareholder. I need to get his name right. So Abbasai. He's talking about JT's experience. He says, I especially enjoyed hearing about JT's past experience at Tesla and his early interest in electric vehicles. We ourselves purchased a Nissan Leaf as soon as our reservation came up, and then we got a 2012 used. But he says this. He says he's not on board with some of the negative commentary on Autopilot. While we still have our old Model S at over 200,000 miles, we appreciate using our Model Y on longer drives, precisely because of Autopilot and FSD. The Model S is Tesla's best-looking car. It's okay. His opinion, and I still love the way it drives. But
I agree with you.
But I like the nose. I like the nose of it. But I have found Autopilot to be very convenient and helpful for safety on long highway drives. So, he also mentions that he has a software background and he has a hard time understanding why anyone thinks 8 cameras are not enough. Wow. That assertion was made during the podcast. It was made during the podcast, but no real support for such a position was provided. So, really quick, because we're running low, but really quick, what do you guys think about that? Because he says that he's saying that he thinks 8 is safe because he's using it on his Y and it's totally cool.
First thing, let's distinguish Autopilot versus FSD. I like Autopilot. I use it on my 1,500-mile road trip. I dislike FSD. There's a distinct difference there. So,
but he's saying that 8 cameras to him seems more than sufficient.
Perhaps for
Humans
autopilot.
only have 2 eyes.
Yeah. Except, well, we got more awareness than the computer does.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
I think so. The data to back up the claim, because I definitely said that I think having more cameras could be
did?
beneficial. I did say that, and I stand by that. I do think that additional sensors and things would be beneficial. You're looking at, to keep it quick, there's 2 big areas. One, you've got there's the data coming in, the sensory input, and then 2 is the brain. And obviously, the computer is nowhere near the human brain for sophistication of how it can do things. So as you know, even Elon says it's like a handicap, companies that use LiDAR and stuff, where they're basically going, my brain isn't as good, so I improve my sensors. So some of the thinking we need more cameras and more sensors is to do with, do we think the brain side of the equation is going to get good enough, fast enough to be worthwhile? But the other one to keep in mind is, yes, a human only has 2 eyes, but they're not fixed. You know, there's basically, I can move my head, I can turn my head, I can focus on different things. So cameras have limitations of focal lengths, of where they can focus, how far they can see. They have a limitation they can't move, so there are potentially blind spots or other things. So where I say you need more cameras, I think it's not necessarily cameras, it's just sensors in general. It'll help with various weather conditions, fog, rain, snow, whatever. It'll help with if you have a blind spot due to something blocking your view in a certain area. If a camera gets dirty, things like that. So there are benefits to having lots of additional sensors.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. So we got another question, and we can't get to them all today.
Can't do them all.
We'll save some for next week. But there's one I want to talk about, and this is a guy who posted on our podcast last week with JT. His name is IMISPGH. Yo, IMISIPGH. If you are listening to this, bring your monkey behind back on this forum and let's talk. Because I'm gonna get on you about what you said here. First, you say the big issue with the Model Y. There was a Model Y that caught on fire a couple weeks ago, whatever, and it made the rounds on social media, right? And we talked about it last week. Mr. Know-It-All here. The big issue with battery fires is they're extremely difficult to put out. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Like magnesium fires. And they can throw off bomblets, which keeps the firefighters away. I used to be a firefighter for 9 years, so I know what you're talking about. On Autopilot FSD, no mention of imaging radar, no LiDAR needed to make tracks and help with classification, nor any mention of AGI being so nascent, which makes deep learning unattainable. Who are you? Are you Elon's puppet? Okay. All this means you folks only know what you hear versus this is what this is what grinds my gears. All of this means you folks being Mike, Lewis, and Mark, you folks only know what you hear versus actually understanding the tech and domain. And this software is not a beta. Beta is basically done. It is so bad, it's a poor alpha. You're so bad, you're a poor alpha. And how about that? And your mama stink. So my point is, who are you to make these types of determinations on what we know or don't know? So if you're listening to this, if someone knows this cat, tell this joker to get back on here and let's talk about this, because none of us have ever said we're Tesla employees. None of us has ever said we designed anything. It's 3 cool ass motherfucking dudes having a conversation about stuff that we like. We all love Tesla. We love EVs. We want to make this world a better place, seeing kumbaya, all that kind of stuff. So you bring your butt up on here and you think you're going to say, well, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. We're having a conversation, bro. It's all about conversation, and it's all about inclusion. You're welcome to have your opinion, which is what it is, and you made our rounds, so you should be applauding yourself because we took the time to let you have some moments on our podcast. You know how many folks want to be on here and they can't, right? We got you on here. My point is, I appreciate your comment, all right? But my point is that
I just
none of us. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just need to say one quick thing.
Go ahead.
Well, maybe 2 quick things, but I'll be fast. Podcast format, there's limited time. We have our audience that we have. We're not trying to get too technical, right? There is that whole aspect of we will never cover every aspect of a topic just due to time. Right. But I will happily offline talk to you as much as you want about whatever.
That's right.
And 2, I know a lot about this.
Hell yeah.
Having both worked in it, but also studied. I have a physics background, engineering background, worked in imaging, medical, semiconductor, all kinds of stuff. I know a lot about this.
So Mike is the boxer with the thing on, and I'm massaging him. I'm like, yeah, come on, bro. You want to have some of this? You want to have some of this?
No, but I will
Louis about to
agree
get out of this
that we
chair.
did. I will agree that we did not cover all of the things that you mentioned because, again, time, format, whatever. And this is not just based on us hearing things versus understanding things. But whatever.
Anyway, so yeah,
haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate, and this Joker is hating. That's all I gotta say. Now we gotta wrap it up, man, because we gotta roll. YOLO, my dude, YOLO. That's
here we
my
go.
dude, man. That's my dude, YOLO, my man. Hey, look, next time, YOLO, come here earlier, right, and be a part of the conversation. Bring us some comments, bring us some questions, man, because we want to know what you guys out there are thinking about. We have a good time on here, and I love Louis and Mike. These guys are fantastic at what they do. The guys behind the scene, Doug and Danny, Adam, James, there's people behind the scenes that are also badass. But these two cats right here, man, they bring it. And you just heard Louis say, hey, look, y'all want to talk? I got you. Let's go toe to toe. So, but we do have to wrap it up, man. And there's a lot of comments here, but please, guys, can you come back next time and ask these comments again, and we'll try to get to them again, because there's a lot we wanted to discuss today. There was some Ford. Ford was talking about some things. We can't get to that. Maybe we'll try it next week. But again, I got to wrap it up. Jones ones, I'm late. What it do? What up, bro? What you need
missed
to do?
it.
What you need to do is tell Siri, because you probably got an iPhone. Tell Siri, look, set appointment for next time. Go to TMC website, and there's a section there that'll tell you when our next podcast is. But we got to wrap it up. What was YOLO? Take care, guys. Oh, my man. All right, my man. So we'll see you next week, YOLO. All right, so we'll wrap it up. Again, as always, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We want to hear what questions or comments you may have, like the one we just talked about. Even if it's controversial, even if you don't think, because none of us say we know everything. If you think you have something that you want to bring to the table that we don't know, please say it. We welcome your feedback. We're doing this for y'all. I love hanging out with these dudes. I love it. But we want you guys to contribute and help us out. So if you have any questions, post them here in the comments here or in the podcast section at teslamotorsclub.com. If you want to be a supporting member of the website, please consider becoming one on the TMC website. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, the links will be down below as always. So for myself, Mike, and Louis, again, a golf clap for Louis getting his Tesla Plaid. Maybe in a couple of weeks he can give us a little review about it.
Right.
But on that note, we'll end it here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on the Sunday. Sorry that we went a little over, but there's a lot of stuff to cover. Elon was talking smack, so we got to do what we got to do. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. We out. Have a good day, guys.